All right, well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the forum for the candidates for the Ashland School Board. We're very happy you could join us tonight, and we're very happy that we have this opportunity to hear from our candidates about their thoughts and hopes and dreams for the Ashland School District. Just want to go over a little bit with our format tonight. My name is Juli Di Chiro. I'm a retired superintendent of Ashland. I retired in 2013, 8 years ago, and very happy to be here tonight to serve as moderator. The questions that you'll be hearing tonight were developed by David Lane, along with input from many different sources, including the candidates themselves. And in addition to that, we are going to be having a forum. What that means is that each candidate will have a chance to talk, but this is not a debate. So the candidates will not be talking back and forth to one another. We have questions that were developed. The first introduction, of course, and then the first two questions the candidates have had a chance to see ahead of time. And then we will go into some questions that they have not had a chance to see and to see how they do on those. And so we're going to start off tonight by welcoming our candidates here. And we're going to start with Jill and have Jill introduce herself. And the order for this question is going to be Jill, then Natalie, then Misha, then Eva, and then Rebecca. And every question will have a different person to start. So everybody gets the advantage or the disadvantage of going first. So okay. We're going to start with you, Jill.
Before we start, Kaitlyn was supposed to give me the ability to mute and unmute, and I can't. Somebody's unmuted Jill, but I can't do it on my own. So she'll have to figure out how to give me. Okay, Jill, I think you're ready.
Yes. Yeah, first of all, thank you, Mountain Meadows Democrats, for hosting the forum tonight. I want to give a quick shout out to Mountain Meadows for supporting the bond measure that was passed in 2018, and just for the constant support of Ashland voters to support our schools. Over 70% that vote to support our schools do not have children in the district. Yet time and time again, your passion and dedication to education shows. As a parent of 2 boys in the district, I'm grateful. And I want to do my part in serving our community and our children. I understand the importance of human relationships and getting goals accomplished. I understand how all of our city entities depend, rely, and interact with one another to support our community. I want to listen to our teachers, our parents, our BIPOC community leaders, and our students. It's important that all voices are heard. As a continuing student of nonviolent communication, I have the communication skills to bring people together, combined with the financial skills to oversee taxpayer funds. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. We'll move now to Natalie.
Nat, I'm sorry, but I was supposed to have the ability to mute and unmute you, and it doesn't seem to be working.
I don't see Natalie's video any longer on the screen. I think perhaps she needs to sign back in, and I think we'll move.
No, she's there. She's there.
She's there? Okay, I don't see her.
No, she's right here.
Okay,
Can
great.
you hear me?
Yes.
For some reason, I don't have the ability to unmute you.
She can unmute herself, I think, David.
Okay.
Can I go?
All right. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Natalie Jackson. I am running for position 1 on the Ashland School Board. A bit about myself. I have been a resident of Ashland for 30 years. I have put my children, my grandchildren, and myself through the Ashland school districts, and I'm quite familiar with many of the teachers and many of the schools. I have volunteered in these schools. I feel like I have the ability to sit on the Ashland School Board. I am a small business owner. I run a very small daycare that caters to ERDC clients. And with that came the responsibility of being a union member. And with the union member, I served as president for 4.5 years. As president for 4.5 years, I also served on the board of directors for 4.5 years. So I have experience with that. and I have experience bargaining our contract with the state of Oregon. I've advocated for many, many years for the
Okay, great. We'll now move to Misha.
Hi, my name is Misha Hernandez, and I want to thank the Mountain Meadows community and David and Kaitlyn for working so hard on putting this together. I believe in public service, and that is what makes our democracy function. I'm a mother of 2 boys in the district, and I'm a passionate supporter of our public schools. I'm a community organizer who builds transformative partnerships. I have dedicated many years of my life to social justice and community service. I have lobbied for legislation and worked with our senators and reps to advocate for bills and funding with Jeff Golden, Pam Marsh, and Merkley, and I plan to advocate for bills and funding for our district. I currently sit on the Southern Oregon Central Labor Chapter as a delegate. I facilitate the Southern Oregon Strong Voice Table, which brings nonprofits and labor leaders to share economic and social justice issues to coordinate mutual support. I volunteer at the Rogue Action Center, Better Solutions Committee, and the Truth and Conciliation Council, which addresses social justice issues in Jackson County. As a rep for the Oregon Nurses Association, I understand contract language and bargaining, and I feel these skills would serve the school board and help bring our community together.
Great, thank you, Misha. We'll now move to Eva.
Hi, I'm Eva Skuratovich. I want to first thank the Mountain Meadows Democratic Club for sponsoring this candidate forum. I heard that 85% of Ashland voters don't have a kid in our schools, and the community passed our bond with a 70% yes vote. This demonstrates how much our community and really Ashland seniors value education. You want our schools to be welcoming and safe for our students, including those students from diverse populations. I know you want an excellent education for our kids. You want them to be good critical thinkers, and you want them to be civically minded. Thank you for supporting Ashland schools. I want to be reelected to the Ashland School Board because I'm passionate about the power of education to transform lives. I have proven leadership, deep experience and knowledge, and long committed established commitment to doing what's best for our kids. In terms of our qualifications, I'm a sociologist. I direct the SOU Research Center. I spend most of my time reaching out and connecting with a very diverse range of people. I found those skills are essential on the school board. I know how to talk with people, ask the right questions, get accurate information to make decisions. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Eva. And now we'll move to Rebecca.
Do I unmute myself?
Yes, unmute,
Okay,
yes,
sorry.
please.
Okay. Hello, my name is Rebecca Dyson. Thank you. I am a parent and an MD. I have a strong background in science, and I'm a voracious reader on all subjects. I am someone who still tries to learn something new every day. I'm not coming to the school board with a particular agenda or focus. I am a big picture person. I have 4 children who have been through grades K through 12 in our school district, and I have extensive experience volunteering in our schools at every level, from chaperoning elementary school field trips to 3 years serving on the high school site council. Above all, I am a champion of the belief that all students deserve high quality public education in a safe and inclusive environment. I believe teachers are heroes, especially in what has been asked of them this past year, and I will support them to the fullest extent possible as a board member. But I do believe that our school board's primary responsibility is to serve the best interests of our students. We owe it to our children to provide the best possible education in the most welcoming environment so that they can grow and thrive and become the leaders of tomorrow. Thank you.
Great, and now we'll end with Sarah.
My name is Sarah Beata DeLong, she, her. I have a 3rd grader at Walker Elementary and a 6th grader at Ashland Middle School. I've worked for the Oregon Shakespeare Festival for the last 8 seasons. I want to be on the school board because serving my community is important to me. I want to be an active participant in helping to make our society safer and more equitable for all our kids. For years, I have focused my activism around supporting families in Ashland. I was a volunteer manager at the OSF Fire Relief Donation Center. I volunteered at the children's wing of the Ashland Public Library, curating a monthly display highlighting and celebrating different themes of identity and justice. I was an administrator for Ashland Family Circle, one of the biggest local parenting support groups on Facebook. And I have volunteered in our schools, including on the Walker Elementary PTO and Site Council. As a school board director, I would remain committed to truly listening to, communicating with, and advocating for all members of the communities I serve.
Thank you very much, Sarah. So now we're moving into our questions. And for this round and the rest of the questions, each responder will have 2 minutes to give us their answer. And again, we're rotating the person who goes first. So this is the order for this one will be Sarah, then Rebecca, Natalie, Jill, Eva, and Misha. So here's our question. What is the greatest challenge the board will face in the coming year, and how would you propose to manage it? And again, starting with Sarah.
I first came at this question from my own personal perspective. This year has been a challenging one for my family in terms of mental health. My kids thrived in the pre-pandemic school model, and the CDL model just did not work as well for them, especially my 6th grader. That, compounded with the isolation of the pandemic, the transition to a new school and a new CDL model in the fall, and then the fire, pushed her to a state of extremely poor mental health that we had never seen before. So this experience of mine makes me want to say we need to prioritize the mental health of our kids, but all our kids are different. Not every kid did worse under the CDL model. In fact, some kids who had a difficult time navigating the pre-pandemic model actually thrived during CDL. Their mental health improved, as did their academic performance. I've talked to a number of families with kids in this category, and their reasons differ. For some, their kiddo may have a learning disability and CDL just worked better for their brain. For others, it was more about their identity and not being subjected to the microaggressions at school because they're safe at home. And yet others who maybe just needed to have some pressure taken off, and CDL let them move at their own pace. So my family's experience was not universal. Every student in the district is going to be coming out of the pandemic with their own unique experience and their own set of needs. I think the greatest challenge the board faces is how do we learn from this and create a new model that is more flexible and more inclusive, where all our kids can thrive. Now, my background is as a theater professional, and we all know the adage that theater is a collaborative art form. And if ever there was a time to collaborate, this is it. We need to do some deep listening. We need to solicit opinions from every stakeholder, students, teachers, families, staff. We need to ask them what is working, what is not working, and what resources do they need to move forward.
Thank you, Sarah. We'll move to Rebecca.
Thank you. As a parent, I have seen firsthand the effects of the pandemic on our children, and it is enormous. Across the board, there has been a drop, not just in academic achievement, but in students' drive to succeed. Maybe some of you saw an article that got a lot of attention lately that described what has plagued so many of us over the past year and gave it the term languishing. It's easy to document this phenomenon statistically. Yesterday, I read a study showing a 16% drop in the number of elementary students performing at grade level in math across the United States. I've heard from the Site Council, as well as my own child, that over 50% of Ashland seniors are currently failing at least one class. I've talked to countless parents and children about how academic performance has suffered during the pandemic. And as with so many other things, the statistics are even worse for minorities. But from what I've seen, there's an even greater unmeasurable effect, which is that our children have become disconnected from their own education. They've lost their commitment, and for many, they've lost their optimism. And this is a terrible cost. So I think our greatest challenge is not just getting these students back into the classroom, but truly reinvesting them in their own education. We have to give them back their energy and their enthusiasm for learning. We have to give them back their hope. There is no one right answer as to how to fix this. I think the first step is making sure that we are providing adequate academic and mental health support for those students who need it. But on a more global scale, I think one of the best ways to approach this is to reconnect students with school outside the classroom, give them back all those things they've lost over the past year that made them who they are as individuals, get them back onto the athletic teams, into the performing arts groups, get them involved in academic competitions or philanthropy and special interest clubs. They need something to be passionate about. We need to reconnect students to their peers and to their drive to learn and grow as unique and valued individuals. Let's take these kids who are languishing and give them back an environment where they can truly flourish. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. We'll now move to Natalie.
The past years have definitely shown a pandemic, a fire. We've had floods in Ashland. So my main concern for the board is emergency preparedness for our schools, for protecting our families, and for supporting our educators. Some of my great concern is, have we supported the educators who launched Zoom classrooms, who have supplied technology, Wi-Fi hot areas for our students? And for our students, have we supported the marginalized students? Have we supported children against hate crimes? These are things that we need to be looking at as a school board. We need to build on what has already been out there. But I think our main priority is to really support our educators, make sure that they have all the tools and are being given appropriate curriculum, being given appropriate supplies, appropriate technology. And that is what I think that the biggest challenge that the board is going to face.
Thank you very much, Natalie. Now we'll move to Jill.
Jill?
There are three main challenges the board will face this year. Re-engaging our students. We have BIPOC students who feel unwelcome. We have students who need social emotional support. And a majority of our students have struggled to flourish during COVID-19. We need to rebuild our school environments to re-engage our students, to reconnect them to each other and their community, and provide a space where all students can thrive. Bringing back students we have lost and enveloping them into our learning communities, this work will not be easy, but it requires that we focus on my second priority, which is social emotional well-being. Our students cannot thrive and will not even engage if they don't feel cared for and that they matter. That means focusing attention first on their social emotional health before jumping into academics. Our school district was one of the first districts to choose not to do academic testing during COVID. We chose our children's well-being above short-term academic data. Yes, we need to get back to academics, but that will come in time. And third, we are already struggling with our budget. We need a long-term budget strategy that addresses what we have lost during the pandemic, but also looks to the future to solve the budget issues moving forward. Sometimes we can become so focused and myopic with the issues at hand, but we have to start planning now for the years ahead, or our school district will lack in funds for not only new initiatives, but also lack in funds to even maintain the status quo. We need to mix things up, to add programs, not start taking things away. For example, right now in Talent, because it is declared a national disaster zone, the Oregon Health Authority has given the Talent School District funds to do a story project to connect the students to one another. Because when students feel isolated and alone, they don't engage and their mental health suffers. We have ways to get more funding. Our school board needs to work to find those ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Now we'll move to Eva.
Okay, there we go. Okay. So for me, I mean, there are so many challenges in front of the board, but at this point, fundamentally, how do we address the learning loss for kids who've been out of the classroom for a year? And how do we address the fact that our kids are struggling in terms of their social and emotional health? we have lost 9 to 10% of our enrollment this year. On top of that, we don't even know what school's going to look like next year. We are not expecting guidance from the state until late in July. So there's a lot of things we can talk about we want to do. I want to talk about solutions. I want to talk about what I have done. I voted for online schooling option for families who want to continue with online schooling. I voted for our students to get back into the classroom this year as early as possible, as safely as possible. I voted for extra money to be spent on summer school. I voted for hiring more educational assistants to work in the classroom. I voted for student advocates to catch those kids who are falling through the cracks. We've applied and received student investment money. We've redirected that to bringing in more child development specialists, hiring academic coaches, increasing our mental health professionals. I believe that it is essential to address both the academic and the emotional impacts that our kids are having. In addition, we put in orders for more modular classrooms and maybe hiring additional teachers. And we need to hear what's worked and what hasn't worked, because there certainly have been some benefits to this process, and we need to know from our teachers, our administrators, our parents, and our kids. A related thing is this all costs money. We are receiving emergency money from the federal government and the Student Investment Act. At the same time, we expect to receive $1.5 million less this year than last year. I have a history of being careful with your money and finding solutions to many of our budget challenges. That's why my experience matters. We face a lot of challenges for the upcoming school year. I'm committed to doing whatever it takes to keep our kids successful.
Thank you, Eva. We will now move to our last respondent, and that's Misha.
Hi, thank you. The greatest challenge, I would say, actually, my children could not be more thrilled for school to reopen, and same with the parents. We're absolutely delighted and honored with how hard the teachers and administration has worked and all the support staff. However, with enrollment down, bringing people back to school and accommodating safety and accessibility with equity is the largest problem that the school faces. Our community needs to heal and understand that the Ashland School Board is available to work with them on issues and concerns. We have tremendous teachers and staff working with our children, and we must reestablish morale amongst all district employees and work to return harmony throughout the district. Education takes place in the classroom, and the board's efforts must focus on enhancing and enriching what goes on there with curriculum development and community engagement. All parties, admin, teachers, support workers, and families have to roll up our sleeves and work together in partnerships. Ultimately, we need to make schools a place that students and families want to return to and feel welcome in. I would like to hold town halls and open forums to hear the needs and concerns of our community and work collectively with the board to establish our short and long-term goals in this new environment. We need to hire a curriculum director to work with our teachers and apply the wonderful EDI work, which is equity, diversion, and inclusion, that has begun, and work with the teachers while meeting core standards in this new reality. We need to expand on an actionable platform for access and addressing ableism and implicit bias. I would be a proponent for directly reaching out into the community and inviting feedback and engagement from families who have pulled away from the district. I expect to have difficult and uncomfortable conversations, but in the end, come to actionable understanding that will move our community forward with transparency, honesty, and integrity.
Great, thank you very much, Misha. We're now moving to our second question. And 5 of our 6 candidates have not served on the school board prior to this. And so we have a question for them, and then we'll have a different question for Eva, who has experience on the school board. So our question for our 5 candidates who have not been on the board before is, what have you done to learn about the district, the board, and the many issues facing our schools? And just stay right there, Misha, because you're first on this one. So we're going to have Misha, Rebecca, Sarah, Jill, Natalie, and then Eva will come at the end, and I'll give her question when it's her turn.
Well, as a parent in the school district, I know a little, and I've learned a lot over this year. And I want to compliment all the hard work that the board has done to carry us through this extremely challenging time. I have attended school board meetings. I have met with staff, educators, and families to listen to concerns and challenges, and I've researched the financial issues, the bond project. The key issue for school boards in this community is to create a long-term vision in this time of recovery, map a course that provides the necessary opportunities students need to reach their full potential in the aftermath of 2020, while fostering financial stewardship. We can address hybrid options while encouraging folks to return to school and community. The board is responsible for establishing and maintaining a structure that supports this vision, empowers the staff, and provides leadership. My efforts as a board member would center on serving all of the children in the community. We are a diverse community, and we have to celebrate that diversity. Our curriculum and staff should reflect and inform diversity. Our schools are here to serve the educational needs of all the children. We should bring in the apprenticeship program to offer a healthy career alternatives to higher ed or the military. The trades offer an end to systemic poverty and address different learning needs and styles. The stress of recovery from the trauma from this year will long outlast this pandemic, and we need to build an infrastructure to address it, as well as have plans in place for the next one. All stakeholders, parents, all district personnel, certified, classified, and management, as well as students, must be partners in this endeavor if we are to be successful. If elected, I hope to work with all of the board and support Natalie Jackson and Sarah Beta DeLong, who share these goals and values from a working mom's perspective.
Thank you, Misha. Now we'll move to Rebecca with the same question.
Thank you. Before deciding to run, I spoke with multiple current and former board members to really understand what this job entails. Anyone who knows me know that I do not leave a job half done. I have 4 children, I have 4 giant dogs, I have a medical degree. I've had the same job for over 20 years. When I pick a path, I stay on it. I know what this commitment means, and I am ready to take it on. Since deciding to run, I've attended school board meetings and work sessions, public bond oversight and budget committee meetings, and the recent meeting between board and Ashland Parks and Recreation, as well as continuing to serve on the high school site council and the board of Ashland High Arts Advocates. I've studied student data and achievement reports. I've tried to understand the annual budget, which was approved at last night's meeting, and I will tell you it is 235 pages long. So shout out to Jill as chairman of the budget committee, because that is a big job. I've spent time talking to students, parents, teachers, and administrators about the effects of school closure and asking what they see as the greatest challenges in our district. As you mentioned, Julie, 5 of 6 current candidates have no prior school board experience. Not only that, but the board members who currently hold the 2 seats not up for election are both within their first full term. So it's critically important that as new board members, we have a wealth of knowledge ready to put into action. This is not a simple job and requires the ability to critically assess everything from curriculum to nutrition to finances. We need people who can jump into this job with both feet, who can see the big picture and understand the many layers that go into each decision. Ideally, the board should consist of people who bring different skills and different viewpoints. We need independent thinkers who also understand reality and the bottom line of the budget. I am not coming to the board thinking that I know the answers, but I want to be part of the conversation. I will do my best to uphold the best interests of our students and make sure our school district serves as a model of excellence and equity. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Rebecca. And Sarah, you're up next.
So about 4 years ago, John Williams had just left the school board and the remaining directors were looking for someone to replace him. My friend and colleague, Camila Long, had applied for the position and asked a bunch of us to go to a board meeting with her to show our support. That was my very first Ashland School Board meeting. Since then, I have either attended or watched almost every single public meeting, as well as several special meetings, listening sessions, and town halls. I think Jim Westrick once referred to me as a super fan or some such. At first, I was just there out of curiosity. I wanted to learn what it was the board did and how they made their decisions. As I began to understand the dynamics, I also started to speak up, making the occasional public comment, and writing letters in support of causes I believe in. Denise Covert-Zeev once found me on Facebook and invited me to participate in the John Muir Outdoor School Renaming Committee, and so I did that as well. During this time, I also joined the site council at Walker Elementary, deepening my understanding of how board policy plays out at the school campus level. When Natalie, Misha, and I decided we wanted to run for school board, we initiated a listening tour, reaching out to teachers, administrators, and families in the district. We asked folks about their experiences, their successes, and their hopes for the future of the district. One answer I heard that resonated deeply with me and has stuck with me is that healing begins when we feel heard. I also learned that Ashland is fortunate to have an incredibly invested citizenry. Everyone we talk to cares deeply about our schools and our students, and they all have great ideas about how to recover from this year of disruption. I look forward to bringing together the community, the school board, and our educators to help create the path forward together.
Thank you, Sarah. And now Jill.
As a parent and candidate, I have attended several public school board meetings. In addition, public school board work sessions. Since 2019, I have served on the Bond Oversight Committee, overseeing our $130+ million facilities bond. I also serve as the chair of the Budget Committee, supporting the approval of the $37+ million annual district budget. I have watched Ashland Parks and Recreation meetings for hours to understand our relationship with parks, and even meeting with Michael Black personally to get a better understanding of how parks is run. This matters because right now we're in the middle of a 6-month potential holdup for Walker School because of an issue that affects both parks and Walker Elementary School with a facilities remodel for that site. On the Budget Committee, I spent countless hours studying the budget that we just approved last night. My role on the Budget Committee is to make sure our budget is aligning with our values as a district, to study the budget with a fine-tooth comb, and to ask questions when our goals are not clearly expressed by the numbers. Believe me, I asked several questions last night to help me understand where we could look for ways we haven't considered when trying to capture lost revenue. A lot of what we've talked about tonight, connecting students with one another, social emotional support, connecting our students to their learning community, they've already been implemented by teachers and specialists and experts that are working hard on the front lines in our schools now. We need to focus our attention as a board on what we can do to support our district community by getting them the funding they need to expand their already existing multi-tiered system of support. For example, we have recently hired a mental health counselor for the district, but we need many more, especially in this time of COVID. Our community deserves better, our schools deserve better. That means our board needs to think creatively so our schools, teachers, and specialists don't have to worry about funding.
Thank you, Jill. And now we're moving to Eva, and she has a different question. And Eva, your question is, what are the main responsibilities a school board member has to the public?
First thing I want to tell you is that the school board, being a school board member, is the most consequential volunteer job in the school district. Everybody needs to know we get $0 to do this job. It is so important that you are committed to public service. Fundamentally, we're elected to the school board to represent the Ashland community and the kids. Our number one responsibility is that we represent our kids, our students. Doing what's best for all kids in the district can be challenging at times in Ashland. We have to balance many competing interests. We can't act only on those community voices that speak the loudest or the longest. For myself, it's crucial I advocate for kids who have less power and privilege, and it's essential that I gather as much information as I can on all sides of an issue to make an informed decision. As a school board member, it's important to be an independent thinker, to be able to disagree with other school board members, and it's essential to not be focused on only one single issue. Next, we have to be fiscally responsible. That's both in the short term and the long term. I pay taxes. Most of you also pay taxes. I'm proud that and we have to expect that our tax money is focused on what's most impactful for our kids and their education. As a board member, I've been part of pushing the school district to better align our spending with our values. I'm proud that our budget is based on our strategic goals, and it's aligned with having students with the highest needs receive equitable resources. Our school board members have a responsibility to the public to be informed so they can do the job they're elected to do. They have to be ready to be committed to a great deal of volunteer activity. Just last week, we had a 4-hour work session. Then we had next day, a 2.5-hour meeting with the Parks Commission. And then on Friday, we had a special session. In addition, as you can tell from the regular monthly board sessions, we have public bond meetings, public budget meetings, and public work sessions. These meetings are on Zoom. I want to invite you all to join. They're linked on our district website. And I also read information about those meetings in our regular monthly session. I have been pleased to see Jill and Rebecca at the public bond, the public budget, and public work sessions over the last 2 months. I got to tell you, I'm an educator, and it's a steep learning curve to be on the Ashland School Board, and people need to show that they're ready.
And I deeply apologize. I got off my list here, and Natalie, I skipped over you. I apologize. We need to go back to Natalie and give her her question. I'm going to reread it. Again, my apologies. What have you done to learn about the district, the board, and the many issues facing our schools?
Some of the things that I have done, as I had mentioned in my intro, is that I have been a voter in the primaries. I have followed the school board for many, many years, even when you were a superintendent, Julie. I have had several meetings with parents about what they want out of our school board. I have had many discussions with teachers, educators, and community members about what they would like to see out of our school board. With that said, I have great experience sitting on a board of directors, knowing that there are fiscal, administrative, policy, all sorts of different choices and different discussions and different avenues that we're responsible for. One thing I did do was I sat down and I read the contract that we have between the board and the educators. I find stuff like that quite interesting. And if elected, I'm looking forward to the bargaining process. And I am ready to serve our community for the best interest of our children, advocate from children, whether that's doing that here in the community or at a state capitol level with our senators.
Great, Natalie, and we're going to keep you there because I'm going to give you the third question. Just to remind the audience, the candidates have not seen the following questions, and so you're going to have to, you're getting an opportunity to see how they think on their feet. So this question has already been referred to by several candidates. On April 22nd, the school board released a draft budget for the coming school year. What are your opinions on the budget? And Natalie, you're our first one.
That's to me, what is my opinion on the school budgets?
Yeah, the one that was proposed on April 22nd.
I have not seen that budget. I have not watched any of the budgets, but put a budget before me and I most certainly will have an opinion on it.
Great, thank you, Natalie. And we'll move to Jill.
Can you just repeat the full question? I just want to
will.
make sure I have the.
On April 22nd, the school board released a draft budget for the coming school year. What are your opinions on the budget?
Well, the good news is we passed it last night. There is a little bit of shifting that happens with the budget right now because we are getting, as Eva mentioned, $1.5 million less this year. And so there's a lot of, just kind of scrubbing of the budget you have to do in order to make sure that the values and the goals and the promises that we've made are being supported. And I think for the most part, we've done a pretty good job considering Like I mentioned previously, I think we can do a better job. And I think that's where the school board can really have a huge impact. We have to start looking at outside ways like different grants that we can get in order to support the initiatives that we have. I think, you know, Alana does a phenomenal job at really making sure that all our bills are paid and that our initiatives are supported. She's amazing. But like I said, we really need to look at new ways of coming up with funding. And I think there's avenues and ways to do that. And I think that's where the board can really serve the community and our school district.
Thank you. We'll move to Eva.
So I have to say, one of the things that I absolutely love about this school district budget is, for the first time, it is specifically aligned with our strategic goals. So our strategic goals are to improve student achievement, to increase recruitment and retention of high quality and culturally diverse staff, and to create and maintain a safe, welcoming, supportive, and inclusive environment for all students and staff. So this is a values aligned budget, and it's wonderful to see the money actually going behind those values that community members in Ashland, teachers, administrators, students all came together to put those strategic goals together. So to see our budget behind it is incredible. I'm concerned we're receiving $37 million this year. For this upcoming year, we had $39 million for this year. So there's cause to be very careful with our budget. I think we need to look at how, you know, and Alana Valencia and our administrators have done a great job of trimming down so that we can come in with a balanced budget. You all may know that the state has approved only $9.1 billion for K-12 education. We need $9.6 billion. So hopefully we're, you know, if our legislature will please meet our needs, we might see the ability to free things up more for our budget. We are shifting to additional supports because of COVID. Again, this is something that we don't know what our school is going to look like for next year. And we have a lot of things that are shifting. So the budget is approved, but it's a bit of a work in process. We don't know all the costs that we're going to be facing next year. And the other thing is we don't know our student numbers. So we know that we declined 9 to 10% this year. Our expectation is we're going to see a 6 to 7% decline next year, and really want to be sure that we have some solid numbers and we get those kids back in. Thanks.
Thank you, Eva. Now we'll move to Misha.
Thank you. Well, I haven't read the budget in detail. It sounds like it passed last night. And congratulations. I knew that we were having a shortfall, and largely I knew because I knew that there were a lot of children that were not returning to school. And I think that one of the things we can do is, of course, put all of our energy, as stated before, into bringing children back into the classroom. And then I know that there will be some COVID funding, hopefully from the national and the state. And I think that it would be important to advocate for grants, as well as look at places where we can cut the budget that are not directly affecting the students. Especially some of the full-time positions that are in admin. I would like to examine all of those and see where adjustments can be made. Thank you.
Thank you, Misha. Now we're moving to Sarah.
I have not had the chance to read the newly passed budget, so my apologies that I do not have a comment on it.
Great, thank you. And Rebecca.
Thank you. It's kind of hard to go last because, you know, everybody's talked about most of the things already. But again, the main take home I've gotten from studying the budget and where we are, and also the projections even into the coming years, I think one of the most significant things is definitely this issue of our decline in enrollment. And I should say, as a background, we were already in a period of decline before the pandemic hit. And then, you know, having that on addition has really caused a dramatic shift. So that is going to be a critical thing, because that's where so much of our funding comes from. The state level is based on how many students we have enrolled in the district. And it can become a vicious circle. If you lose that funding, if you have to cut teachers, you have to cut programs, you then become a less attractive school district for people to come into. So we are at this critical juncture here where we have to maintain our robust academic programs. We have to maintain all the things that make the Ashland School District so great, so that we can really continue to bring families back into our schools, as well as attracting new families into our community and maintaining that for the years to come. You know, and there's so many things to talk about here, but I think one thing, you know, on a broad perspective we need to look at is, how do we make Ashland more welcoming to families? Certainly, more affordable housing is going to be a huge thing in the coming years, especially if you look at the current housing market. The median house prices in Ashland are pretty extraordinary. So I will leave it at that. I think it's a huge problem, and it's a very interesting problem, and it will take lots of heads together to solve. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, candidates, we have another question for you that you have not seen. So this question is in early 2021, the Ashland School Board directed the superintendent to return students to school, in quotes, as soon as possible and as safely as possible, end quote. What are your thoughts regarding this resolution? The order for this is going to be Rebecca, Sarah, Jill, Natalie, Misha, and Eva. So starting with Rebecca.
Okay, so I hope I got that whole question.
Would you like me to repeat it?
Could you?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm sure everyone would like to hear it again. In early 2021, the Ashland School Board directed the superintendent to return students to school as soon as possible and as safely as possible. What are your thoughts regarding this resolution?
Well, I am certainly in favor, and I think, honestly, I think we've done an amazing job. You know, the speed at which we went from that initial very limited hybrid, especially at the high school level, where they were only attending 2 classes per week, 1 class a day on 2 days of the week, and now they're back 4 days a week. Okay, this is great. This is definitely the direction we should be going. We are doing it appropriately. We are following state guidelines. Obviously, it is being done safely, and this is so important. So I applaud the school board for what they've done to make this happen. I applaud our entire district for the speed at which we've been able to make this happen. I mean, even just looking at my own kids, this is a world of difference. So I am 2 thumbs up here. Thank you.
Great. And now we're going to move to Sarah.
I have to agree with Rebecca. I also am very pleased. As I said, my kiddos had a hard time with the CDL model, and I want to thank all of our teachers that we've had over the last 2 school years who have helped us through this, because it has just been an enormous challenge. And coming back to school, I can already see that their mental health has improved, their overall outlook on school and on life has greatly improved. And I know that the burden for all of these changes has fallen mainly on the teachers. So I just, again, need to express my deep and profound thanks. When, you know, at the beginning of the pandemic, they were basically building an airplane while flying it and figuring out how to school our children in a way that nobody ever even expected to have to do. And then they came up with the new CDL model in the fall, which was a huge improvement. So I can only imagine the hours and hours of work that took. And, you know, I know that it was another big transition to get into the 2 days a week hybrid. And I think that teachers felt pretty stressed out about that. And I just, again, need to express my profound thanks, because every time that we have added more on-campus time, it's really helped my students, my kids at home. So Thank you, everyone.
Great. Before we move to to Jill, I just saw a message in the chat, and Kaitlyn, our tech support, Natalie's saying that she doesn't have any audio. Can you take a look at that and see if you can help her? We'll move to Jill, and hopefully by the time we get to Natalie, she will be able to hear her.
Julie,
yeah.
there's also quite a few people in the waiting room that need to be let in by David.
Okay, so again, Kaitlyn, that would be you. If you can just let those folks in that are waiting in the waiting room. I don't, I'm not the presenter here, so I don't have the ability to do that. Hopefully she'll be getting them in. Anyhow, let's move to Jill.
Previously I worked as a corporate wellness consultant, and my job was really to create environments where everyone thrives. And it's really important when you're creating a community where everyone thrives, that people feel supported, that they feel cared for, but that they feel safe. And I think our district has done a pretty amazing job at welcoming our students and teachers back while simultaneously helping everyone to feel safe. And that's crucial in creating an environment where everyone can be their best selves. We live in an amazing community. Look at where we are right now. We have 6 amazing women vying for 3 volunteer positions. I think that's pretty incredible. And I'm grateful to live in a community where that happens. We're involved and we care, and we support our kids, and we support our teachers. And so I feel really just genuinely grateful for how the district has brought our kids back, how the teachers, at least the ones that I've interacted with, have felt really safe about being able to get, to just have an environment where they're supported. So whether it's wearing masks or getting vaccines or whatever it is that each individual feels that they need in order to feel safe. So I'm grateful. I think we're going to have some new challenges ahead. I don't think we're through it yet. I think in the fall, there's going to be more requirements that come down from the state. And I think that that's the hard part to navigate as a board member, is we have to kind of take the rules that are being handed down from the state and then modify those to also connect with our community so we can find out what feels comfortable for our district. But really, in the end, we have to make sure that we're following the rules of the state. So looking forward to navigating that, and thank you.
Great, and I think Natalie did get her audio back on. So Natalie, it's your turn.
Can you guys hear me?
We can. Great.
I can't hear what the question is. I can't hear you guys.
You can't hear it. Can you hear me now? Okay, I'm not sure how to get the question to
Maybe
you.
put it in the
Can we
chat.
yeah.
Yeah, yes, I'll put it in the chat. Natalie, would you mind if we go to Misha and I can type the question in for you?
I'm
and
not
then you
sure
can go
what's
after
going
that?
on again.
Okay, I'm going to put the question in the chat. She can't hear us, so I don't know how to get her that message. I'm just going to tell her, I guess.
I'll text her that it's going to be in the chat.
The
Okay.
joys of Zoom, guys.
All right.
And
Okay.
can we please move
Okay.
to you, Misha, to answer the question while I'm
Yes.
typing? Great, thank you.
Would you mind rephrasing the question at this point?
I would not mind. It's
Thank you.
in early 2021, the Ashland School Board directed the superintendent to return students to school as soon as possible and as safely as possible. What are your thoughts regarding this resolution?
Well, first of all, I'm in complete agreement with everyone else who spoke. I was so grateful for the schools to be reopening. My children were not thriving. And I was also incredibly grateful for how hard the teachers and the admin and all the people working behind the scenes worked during this time to make it as accessible, as engaging as possible. Miss Cassie is my son's 2nd grade teacher, and she is an absolute joy, and she did everything she could to build community. with the children by having breakout rooms, having them chat with each other. So when they came back to school and they were face to face, they had reference points. Those are the kind of little details and social skills that are so important. The other part that I was so thrilled about having the schools back open is, of course, to have parents that work have the ability to have their children back in school. It was incredibly stressful for all of the essential workers. You have the nurses, which is predominantly a female profession, having to scramble and find alternative care constantly during this time. All of the people who worked at the grocery stores, all of the people that kept our country running, which largely were essential workers and largely unionized workers, had to really struggle to cover that. So it was just this huge collective sigh of relief to have the schools back open and as safely as possible. And I watched how they really did everything they could to make it safe and have minimal breakouts. I know the schools that rushed to open around the country did have more issues with breakouts with less vaccination. So I think the schools did a very good job in balancing the vaccination rate with the opening. And I applaud that. Thank you.
Great. Natalie, are you prepared to answer the question or should I come back to you? And Kaitlyn, I don't know if you've been able to work. Apparently she cannot hear us. And so Eva, I'm going to move to you. And thank you, Misha. I see you're texting her. I appreciate that. So Eva, let's move to you and then we'll come back and get Natalie at the end.
Thanks. I think this decision epitomizes the challenges of being on the Ashland School Board. We had so much input going into that decision. We had a lot of folks emailing us, asking us to please reopen schools. As Misha noted, there were a lot of families that had 2 working parents. It was really a lot of stress on them. And they were looking at CDC guidelines that were saying that recommending that school be reopened safely, social distancing and masking. We also had parents, fewer parents, but emailing us saying, please do not open schools. My kid is thriving. We don't want any more change. We want to finish the school year out online. And then we had teachers. I mean, teachers have been through so much. They need all of our gratitude. They need our awe. They've done an unbelievable job. Teachers have had 4 first days of school. They have had to reconfigure their lesson plans, first to make them online. Then when we reopened schools, they had to change them yet again. And then when the social distancing rules changed, they had to change them yet one more time. So we have a huge debt to our teachers and the incredible job they did. Ultimately, I appreciate that all of the candidates actually support the vote of the school board of bringing kids back to school. We felt that for kids' social and emotional health, it was crucial that they come back, be with their teachers, be with their peers, and engage in the important way of learning together. I really feel like it's been stressful. This year's been stressful for everybody. I am so pleased that Governor Brown prioritized our teachers so that we knew they'd be fully vaccinated when the kids came back to school, and that made a big difference. And our staff fully vaccinated also. They all had the opportunity to do that. So all in all, it was definitely the right decision, and I've gotten a lot of feedback from parents about what a difference it is when their kids are in school, and how important that is to have that that in-person connection. And I see it with my kid. She's bouncing around more. She's very engaged and she's so thrilled to be back with her friends. She comes back and talks about what a difference it is to see her teachers. There's a number of her teachers she had never met until going back to school. And that's an incredible connection for her. Anyway, I'm really happy that it is resolved this way.
And Natalie.
Okay, Natalie, go. Hold on, I don't think they can hear you. Are you back on Zoom?
Yeah, the problem that she can't hear must be on her end, not on ours, according to Kaitlyn. So I'm not sure what to do.
Here, go ahead and speak and I'll put it on speakerphone.
Okay, I was very excited when the schools were going to open again. We were given a choice whether we wanted to send our children or have them stay at home. I chose to send my children. I felt safe because I'm a child care provider, and I went to a lot of Zoom meetings about how the governor was using the rubrics to determine how we were going to safely open child care centers, how we were safely going to open schools. And so I felt confident sending my child back to school. And I really think it was important because she needed socialization. And all of my children were very happy to go back to school. So I think that was a right move. The teachers and the district worked with such great precaution, and the children wear their masks and everybody is adapting. We adapt to change, and that is growth. And I was okay with that.
Great, thank you, Natalie. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties we're having. We have one more round of questions, and this final round of questions, we're going to pair up the people that are competing for the same seat. So we have Eva and Misha, who are going for position number 3. And I just want to make sure that Misha can hear the question. Okay, great. And so this question is for the 2 of them, and then we will move to a different question for the next 2 and a different question for the next 2. Okay, so it's the last question of the night for each one of you, and this one will go to Misha and Eva. So the first question is, how would you propose that the board support students and teachers coming back to school after a year of online schooling? And Eva, we're going to go first with you and then Misha.
So I just want to be clear, how would the board support proposing students and teachers coming back?
Yeah, so how would you propose that the school board support students and teachers coming back to school after a year of online schooling? Now, I know everyone has responded to that somewhat, but maybe you could reiterate.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
expand upon.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to check because I wasn't sure I was hearing it. I certainly have talked about this. This is absolutely crucial. We need to do so much to support our kids coming back and our teachers. This means giving kids the kind of academic support that they need. We are hiring academic coaches, getting kids the emotional and social support that they need. We have new mental health professionals coming in. We have child development specialists coming in. We have student advocates coming in. So we really need to wrap ourselves around the students. In terms of the teachers coming back, that's a really good question too. Our teachers have been through a great deal. There has been so much that's been asked of them over this last year. I think one of the crucial things in supporting teachers is making sure that we start the year and we are committed to a particular plan for what school's going to look like, and we stay committed to that. Because what we've seen with our teachers is we have been changing things, understandably, for this school year to a great degree. We're offering teachers extra opportunities to make more money this summer. They can teach summer school. They're going to be really well paid for that. So we know that they're tired. We know that they're exhausted, but we also want to give them extra opportunity to earn more money. So we want to support them in that way. I think in addition, one of the things that I've been talking about a lot is that COVID has made it really hard for those informal interactions with teachers. There's a lot of times that I'll go to meetings, I'll check in with teachers, see how they're doing. I haven't been able to do that. I'll be on campus to do the same thing. And again, we have not had that informal communication with teachers that we need to have. So I have already talked about the fact that I want to enhance, no matter if we have COVID guidelines or not, I want to enhance the ability to have more of those informal conversations, to reach out to teachers and find out how we can accommodate their needs.
Thank you, Eva. And Misha, same question. Do you need it repeated or are you okay?
I'm good, thank
Great,
you.
thank you.
I commend all of the moving pieces that it put into place in regards to mental health and resources. And I really have to go back to having open forums and where people are feeling heard. I think teachers are in a similar spot that nurses are in, and that they have been running this marathon for a very long time and holding physical and emotional and their own family stress, trying to reach this end of a pandemic that's just never ending. And I think one thing that would really help with that psychologically, aside from all the things that are already being done, is to create a pandemic plan in conjunction and feedback so that we are operating proactively and preparing so that we know what our plan is. I think the stress of not really knowing and operating month to month and reevaluating was a lot. And I think also providing and working in partnership and approaching things like bargaining and employment and resources in the new context of pandemic work and post-fire, so that workers feel heard and supported. And when workers are heard and supported, it's better for our children. And I think it's important, even though we are on a bit of a budget shortfall, that we don't operate from a poverty mentality, that we still advocate for the very best option for our students and our staff. And finding ways to meet that option is going to be going through things with a fine-tooth comb and really looking at places where those accommodations can be made.
Thank you, Misha. Okay, now the next question is for the two candidates running for position number 4, and that is Sarah and Rebecca. And so your question is, the Ashland School Board directors are volunteers, and the position requires many evenings of meetings, committees, and preparation. All of our candidates are working parents. How can you assure the voters that you will be able to handle all of this extra responsibility and work? So we're going to start with Sarah.
How will I assure the voters that I can handle this?
That's a great
I mean, every working parent knows that knows this struggle, right? Of how do you balance your work life, your home life, the needs of your kids, your volunteer work, the work of your heart. Right now, I am not employed. The Oregon Shakespeare Festival has not reopened, and we're not sure when it will or how it will when it does. So I am unsure of my employment future. So I have right now quite a bit of capacity to devote myself to learning the rules and regulations of the school board. You know, I have my history in the district to fall back on, but I know that I have a lot of work ahead of me, and I look forward to we've talked about how the OSBA has several webinars and several training sessions, and I'm absolutely prepared. I'm somebody who does my homework and who does my reading and does my research and wants to understand all the different aspects. So, I mean, I don't really know how to convince you all that I'm up for the job, but I am. Working in theater means that there have been times when I've had to work an 80-hour week and still come home and be mom. And that's just how it is. And this is just one more challenge. I'm ready to face it.
Thank you. Rebecca, how about you?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this is a huge thing. And before I even made a commitment to run, these were the first questions that I asked myself. Number one, am I qualified to do this job? And number two, do I truly have the time to commit to it? So I mentioned in my introduction, I talked to 4 or 5 current and former board members to get a real sense of the time commitment. If you just look at the meeting schedule, it doesn't look like that much, but the reality is very different. You are expected to serve on a number of subcommittees. There's an enormous amount of reading to be done. There's a lot of data that you have to study and understand. So there's so much more to it. There's also a lot of time that has to be spent communicating via email, via phone, and actually speaking face to face with administrators, teachers, members of the community, parents. It's a huge job. So I really, really took a hard look at that. And my answer is yes. 2 things in my life have changed that made me feel like this was the right time for me. Number 1, my kids are getting older. They are now all teenagers. They're more independent. The eldest is leaving for college this fall and the youngest is starting high school. So that gives me much more flexibility during the day. Number 2, based on the changes from the pandemic, I am now predominantly working from home, which increases my flexible hours. As I said, I'm an MD. I do have a large workload, but let me just throw in there, I have an unbelievable spouse who is also works with me. And so we can trade off duties, which is incredibly helpful. So it gives me a lot of flexibility during the day. I can find an extra hour to go to a meeting, to respond to some email, to have a face-to-face talk. I am ready to do this job. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. And Misha, we're probably going to need your help here to make sure that that Natalie can hear this one. So this one is for Natalie and Jill. And the question is, Ashland has an enviable reputation for producing a high quality education. How will you help to maintain this high quality? And Natalie, you are first.
Natalie, did you hear that?
What did you say?
Could you repeat it one more
Yes,
time?
Absolutely, I will repeat it. Natalie, I'm so sorry that you are having this difficulty. It is, Ashland has an enviable reputation for producing a high quality education. How will you manage to maintain this high quality?
Ashland, when I was a young lady with my small children, was because Ashland High School was one of the best in the nation. It has not disappointed me. When I moved here and my children went to the elementary schools, they were outstanding. And I would like to be a part of that. I have the skills to sit on the board. I have the skills to make decisions in the best interest of our children and the best interest of our community, and work shoulder to shoulder with whoever I'm elected with. And I will bring a lot to the table.
Thank you, Natalie. And Jill, same question.
I think in order to maintain the academic excellence that Ashland has become so used to, is we really need to make sure that we are reaching out to our business leaders and collaborating with lots of different organizations. Our university is right here in Ashland. And if we want to stay innovative and on the front edge of exciting new forms of not only educating our students, but also in curriculum and making sure that we're staying just ahead of the curve in that way. However, that doesn't fit all students. We really need to make sure that we're still giving a holistic education, one that serves everyone's interest. And that means that it needs to be really diverse. Misha talked about the trades and supporting the trades. I agree with that we need to recognize that not all our students are going to be going to college. And so we need to be supportive with the arts, with athletics, but all of that again comes down to funding. It's easy for us to talk about these things, but if we don't have the amount of funding that we need, then we can't take on new initiatives. And all that ends up happening is Ashland kind of maintains the status quo. And we really want to maintain ourselves as innovators. But you know, our children have real problems ahead of them. Climate change is such a scary challenge for our children. And so we need to be thinking creatively, we need to be thinking in different ways, and we need to be thinking holistically. I look forward to looking to the experts that we have working as teachers and administrators and specialists for our schools, and supporting them in that way. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And I just want to take this time to really thank each 6 of our candidates that are here tonight. In this time of political rancor and divisiveness, it really is fabulous that we have the opportunity to hear from each one of you. Very thoughtful, insightful, positive, and encouraging answers to these challenging questions. So thank you so much for being here. To our audience, I want to remind you all, now that you've been so well informed by our candidates, don't forget, get out that ballot and vote. We need to vote by May 18th, but better to vote right away and just either drop it in the mail or take it to the post office. We always have a low turnout for these March elections and May elections. And we really need everyone to vote. Also, just to remind everyone that this has been recorded, and a recording of this forum will be on the district website for you to the Ashland School District website. And give us a day or so to get it up. But if you want to tell your friends and neighbors about what an informative time this was, and if they would like to see it, they can go to the website. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here tonight. And please remember to vote. And thank you for your support of our schools. Good night.
Thank you.
all for
Thank you,
coming.
everyone. Thank you.
Okay, so is it just us left now?
No, there's still some attendees.
Okay.
Thank you all for being here. I apologize that things didn't go as smoothly as we were hoping, but I noticed everybody kicked in and figured out what the problem was and made it work, and that's great. Looks like we've lost Natalie. Natalie, I had some trouble getting the stuff to her because I had her email address incorrect. That happened several times, and I'm sorry she's gone because I wanted to assure her that between that and the problems tonight, I'm not trying to pick on her.
Yeah, I think that's important. I feel badly about that, but we're in these online environments and things happen, then it's difficult to troubleshoot sometime live, while we're still going. So, but really, I meant that sincerely, everyone. It was just a joy to be here tonight, hear your ideas, and I hope that those that are elected and those that are not will continue to find a way to support our school district, because we really need it. We need your dynamic ideas and your time and your positive energy as we move forward, into this opportunity of rethinking what we're doing in schools. So
Absolutely.
thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, David.